I'd like to welcome you guys this week's report. Today is Thursday, June 19th. Been a hot week here in Southern California, both weather and fishing wise. A lot of stuff to cover, but before I do, I need to talk about the weather a little bit. This weekend, right now, as of Thursday, I looked around noon, weather does not look great. Channel Islands look very windy, especially Rosa, west end of Santa Cruz Island. Nick looks unfishable. Santa Barbara Island looks windy. Clemente looks too windy for small boats, maybe okay for sport boats. Tuna grounds look too windy for everyone. Catalina looks okay. It's in the middle of the whole thing. We have a Catalina eddy happening, but to get to Catalina, you have to go through a whole lot of southeast wind along the beach. Starts down to Coronados and blows all the way up to the Santa Monica Bay. In the morning especially. I've been wrong on a lot of forecasts lately. The weather reports have not been holding up, so I'm not going to predict anything here. I am going to say though, if the weather is as forecast, you have limited fishing options this weekend, and if it's better, good for everybody, but let's make it a point to check it yourself before heading out on a private boat. And if a sport boat wants to cancel because where they're fishing is going to be too rough, you're better off not going. So, bad news out of the way. And this whole thing's going to last for 4 days or something like that. We'll go right back to our normal weather we've been having here, which has been pretty good. So, I missed it last week, but we're doing our CCA Star Tournament Fish of the Week. I still have not submitted one. I had a shot at one on Saturday, but my good friend Chris Oakes staked me on it, so I will tell you a little bit about that later. This week's fish was a white sea bass caught by Randy Sharon, and that was on the CCH-sponsored 2-day trip to El Dorado out of Long Beach Sport Fishing. They were up to the Santa Rosa, I think, and loaded up a big sea bass up there. So speaking of Santa Rosa, and, well, not Santa Rosa right now, there are sea bass to be caught in Santa Rosa. They're mostly school-sized fish. And the limit has changed now to 3 fish per angler, which is good. And they've actually been getting limits on some of the trips. From what I've heard, the bigger fish are at Santa Cruz Island, also Anacapa. And I talked to my friend Marcus, who fished on the Aloha Spirit the other day, and they had excellent fishing. He had his 3 fish limit of sea bass and a big yellowtail. He said the hot ticket was a 1/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce lead hit on a fluke, or a live squid on a similar size. I would have been sliding egg sinker. Said those fish are big and they're near structure. A lot of guys getting broken off on a bull kelp. So you want to fish heavier line, and you got to be afraid not to pull too hard. You know, they're in those situations you'll either catch them or you're not going to catch them. And if you don't pull hard enough, you're going to lose them to kelp. And if you pull too hard, you might break it off. But I'd rather break it off than get sawed off. Yeah, so my friend Danny Erickson and his daughters were up there. Danny runs the New Del Mar and Marine Del Rey Sport Fishing. His whole family's excellent fishermen. They had a good trip up there as well. Got some nice sea bass. A lot of guys that work on boats were heading up to the Channel Islands. My friend Mitch from Blackfish Sport Fishing took his boys up there. They fished with Sean on the Great Light. They had 3 fish limits of sea bass for everybody. They had yellowtail and halibut, and all just giant, nice big grade of sea bass and yellows. It's awesome to see. Yeah, like I said, it's probably going to be kind of windy up there this weekend. Hopefully not, but most likely that's going to be the case. These fish aren't really biting in association with the full moon. We're off at quite a ways now, so they're just biting. So I'm hoping that after the wind stops blowing up there, they'll bite again. So heading down this way, San Nick and SBI both have sea bass and halibut biting there. Problem is both islands will probably be fairly unfishable this weekend. Well, the SBI you can probably fish, but yeah, that tends to be windier than it looks usually on the weather forecast. It looks a little breezy up there anyway. Earlier in the week, my friend Kim fished on the Apollo at San Nick, I think it was, and she had a 40-pound halibut. It's just an absolute giant, so good for her. And also, another friend of mine, Steve, fished SBI on his own boat, got a nice halibut there. So there's halibut and sea bass on both islands. Not as good as at the Channel Islands, but you still got shots at fish. You got a lot less boats as well. Head down to San Clemente. It's gonna be windy out there this weekend. For skips anyway. You know, it's right now in the weather forecast, it looks like it's running a line of the really bad wind, so it might be fishable. Maybe just the front side, maybe the back side. I don't know. I'm sure there's gonna be boats online to go and give it a shot, but there's still squid beds on the backside there. They're still getting yellows and sea bass and halibut off those. It's not great fishing, but you catch a few fish. During the day, sport boats are catching, you know, some smaller yellows on the front side, catching rockfish, whitefish, sheephead, junk like that. Sure be good bass fishing over there this weekend, but I don't know of any bass guys that are going, and I certainly wouldn't recommend they do go due to this weather we're having. You know, it's kind of funny. Before I started shooting my video here, I opened up my garage. I got a big commercial grade fan that I'll ran it for like an hour. It's actually pretty not too bad here when I started, but boy, it's hot now, so if I'm sweating, that's why. So heading into Catalina, the action is not red hot there like it was a few weeks ago. There's still some yellows and sea bass and halibut to be caught on the squid grounds, you know, down the east end backside. I think the Thunderbird fished there the other day because they got some squid from Long Beach Carnage, who I know is a Catalina. And they didn't say where they were, but the background of one of their photos did not look like San Clemente. They got a couple nice yellowtail. Not much else from what I heard. My friend Brandon Volgamont went over there for an overnight trip with his daughter Jade. I don't know how you convince a 20-something-year-old girl to spend the night on a 20-foot center console on the backside of Catalina, but she seemed happy to go with him. And they struck out on the nighttime fish, game fish, but they loaded up on some nice reds. So it looked like they had a good time. Good for them. You'll never catch me sleeping on my skip anywhere. 3/4 boats are doing well over there. The Sport King, I think they had like 11 for 15 yellows the other day. They're small yellows, but the Free Spirit out of Marine Del Rey, they've been going over there. Little 6-pack boat, similar to the Gray Light up Ventura, but out of Del Rey, and they had yellows and bonita, bass, I think halibut. Just good summertime fishing over there. If you go over with a tank of anchovies, probably have a fun day anywhere on the front side. Yeah, it's not a flamethrower, but again, if you're going this weekend out of Long Beach or Newport, you're going to have some southeast wind in the morning to deal with. And if it's the strongest forecast, I wouldn't do it. Hopefully it's not. So heading into the beach, I fished 3 days this week. 3 days last week too. Good time of year to do it. Fished Palos Verdes all 3 days. Had tough fishing all 3 days. One of the things that I did have the opportunity to do while not catching a lot of bass was to pay attention to what the bait is doing up there, and kind of put something together that I hadn't noticed previously. It's not slow fishing will do that for you, but I went up on Saturday morning with Chris Oakes, and the only bait we saw was larger bait. You know, when I'm saying larger bait, I mean not that tiny rice that, you know, half-inch long stuff that's around. And when the bigger bait is around, be it anchovies or small sardines or smelt, the bass are associating with, yeah, sorry about that. When there's bigger bait around, the bass are associating with isolated patches of stringers. And also feeding in open water. Saturday morning, I was throwing a J&C Lure Company sent me some of their, it's called Bait Shifter. It's a top water bait, looks like a heavy duty version of a Zara Spook. It's got all wire through. You know, I think they're designed more for yellows and tuna and stuff like that, but it walks the dog real nice, and the calicos were all over it. But those fish were away from the main bed. I actually have a video of me catching one on that J&C lure right here.
Get him?
Yeah.
Yes. On camera too, that's great.
Not very big.
Watch out for my bait. Oh.
Yeah, it's on the new bait shifter lure they sent me down from San Diego. Small bass.
Big same size.
They eat it though.
That was sweet.
Yeah, so that fish wasn't a giant by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty cool to get topwater action like that. Seemed like the overcast helped for that lure. The only downside was I get a little too excited when I'd see the fish. If they didn't get it right away, these fish would hit it 4 or 5 times, and I pulled away from quite a few. And one of those fish actually, after I jerked away from it so hard, the lure came back and slammed into the side of the boat. Chris made a follow-up cast and it caught the fish.
Oh! Oh, God dang it! Oh, yes! Oh! Oh! 3 times, 4 times.
Oh, God.
4 times you're out.
That was a nice one, dude. He's
Yeah,
getting the hooks.
that was insane. I'm sitting here with my thumb at my butt. You remember when we were kids, like the wrestling, they had the Slammy Awards?
Yeah.
So stupid.
That was all over it, man. I was watching underneath it.
Hit it like 4 or 5 times.
He was all lit up.
Oh, that was a freaking good one right there. There he is. I'm on him.
Ah, nice.
Get a good one.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Get him, son.
I just don't want him getting in that kelp. I'm like freaking just thumbing the spool.
Probably the same fish.
There it is. Look at that thing.
Oh,
I need your help. Yeah. That's a freaking biggie. I saw me. Dude, that's a good one there. Oh, shit. That's a real one there.
Nice one.
That's the biggest bass I've caught in a long time. That's a freaking...
Wow.
I watched him miss it the first time. I'm like, damn, that was a big one. I didn't know he was that big. Look at that thing, dude.
That's a beauty, man.
Yeah, so one of the things I talked about in last week's video was that we were getting fish at the Newport Pipe on the Lucky Craft DD100, Deep Diver 100. And I fished that in a burn, stop presentation. Chris fished it a little bit differently. More of a put some rod action into the bait, and he did really well with it on Saturday. I did not throw the lure at the same time. I didn't bring mine, so I don't know if it bit it better or not, but if you guys like being a little more techie with your baits, you can see how he does that here.
I can't get the fucking book straight. Going?
Yeah.
Nice.
Good one. It's a light rod, but good fish. I went to twitch it and just my rod tip stayed there.
Oh, bass
Lord.
blew up on it.
That was awesome. Oh, I just got him in the gill. That's why it feels so big. We got hot luring action.
So anyway, on Tuesday, today's Thursday. Yeah, Tuesday, Matt and I were joined by Mike Stemmeridge of Pearl Swim Baits, and we went up to PB again. And this time there was not really any aggregations of bait anywhere. We fished from Furman all the way back up to almost Rat Beach, and then back down to Furman. And it wasn't until like the last half hour of the day I think we got 6 or 7 fish on a variety of baits. There was just small areas that had conditions and bait that might have been 100 feet across. You get a couple bites and that was it. Wednesday, Matt and I went out again. We got up there and immediately started catching fish at Point Furman. And what was interesting at Point Furman, there was bigger bait. It was large anchovies, and the bass were absolutely annihilating the lures. And we, every bite was a hooked fish. And some spots of kelp, you get a couple fish off, even if you drift it over. And I got a little video of that here.
A little windy to fish this shit out here properly.
What's that?
A little windy to fish this stuff out here properly. Let's go right here. Followers for me?
I don't know, we'll see. Tugger. Nice. What's up, buddy? You think you wanted that bait or what?
No.
Completely gone.
Nice.
Same spot.
That's a good video right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so once that kind of, we worked through that area, we started heading up the line. We didn't plan to go all the way up to Rocky because what we saw up there wasn't so great. And we stopped at Trump National and fished our way back down. And what we found there was a lot of that really small bait. Rice, maybe it's almost like the size of 3 grains of rice end to end. It is tiny bait. And whenever that bait was around, every bite from a bass we got was in thick kelp. They were not out as stringers, they were only in the mat, because that's where that bait goes to hide. And in previous years when we had competition, the bass were actively feeding. They're not quite there yet. Up around the corner of Rocky Point, that rice would get pushed up to a ball and you get 10 or 15 bass feeding on it. Then you can throw a bigger lure in there, bigger, like a 4 or 5 inch bait, and hook those bass. But the way it was yesterday, the bass weren't competing for the lure with other bass. They would just be solo fish, and they would not commit to it enough to get the hook. So we probably had 30 plus bites in areas like that. We got 10 fish. I mean, it was just, I'm not sure that's the video or not, but if I do, I'll put it after this. But Matt had a stretch where he probably got 5 bites in a row on the weedless, didn't hook a single one. So if I do have that, I don't know if I do or not, that'll be after this.
Classic pre-past, post-spawn.
There you go.
Condition. Post-Malone condition. Classic junk fishing.
Nice one?
Ah, 3 pounds.
Huh?
3 pounds. Fed it to him right. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, that was a good one right there. Wow, that's a big one.
What?
That was a big one that flashed through just then.
Chase your bait?
6 or 7 pounds. He spiked down it like 10 feet away.
How big was it?
5, 6 pounds. Like this big. Big fucker. Doing a really fast drive-bys, you know.
Yep.
Like, you know what? I've seen that bait before.
Probably has.
I know you fuckers. I did not appreciate being released into the harbor. There we go, look, that's right there. Wow.
Oh, yep.
A lot of them right there. Yeah, see that? They're in this thick shit here.
Yep.
He had a bunch of friends with him.
This Mach 9 drift is not helping.
Huh?
This Mach 9 drift
No.
is not helping us.
No, it's not.
I think this small bait is the reason they're not biting right. Yeah, but you need a feather on a casting bubble.
Right out of his mouth.
Yeah, so wherever you're fishing, look at the bait, see what size it is, see how it's related to kelp. I don't care if you're fishing calicos or yellows or sea bass by kelp beds or anything like that. How that bait is acting is it's going to determine where those fish are going to post up. Big bait, they'll go out in the, it's roams more freely. They'll be out in open stringers or over hard bottom. Tiny bait, it's going to be tight to the matted kelp. Yeah, another local stuff. We saw the Monte Carlo fishing up off Palos Verdes last 2 afternoons. They had good calico bass fishing. You get up there and set up a chum line, getting fish on bait, get them on the iron, plastic lures. You look further down, Huntington Beach, Newport Beach area. Marcus, after he caught all the sea bass, decided to go half day fishing. On the Western Friday, really good bass fishing on artificial lures there as well the next day. So, if you want to live a good fishing life, you should follow in his footsteps. But yeah, these fish are spawning. They're out in the hard bottom areas. They're schooled up. You can, you can go out there and anchor and chum and catch them, or you can drive around and look for fish marks on your meter and drop on them. But yeah, a lot of good opportunities there. Same thing's going on in San Diego. Bass fighting. Haven't heard much about yellows on the beach, anything like that. I'm sure they're around. There's some squid down there. But yeah, the next thing really is Coronados. It's still slow. The water's still very dirty. And boats are getting like 1, 2, I think the best score I saw was about 20 yellowtail on the San Diego one day. Most of the days are 4 or 5 fish. Conditions are just not right down there. It should improve. The water cleans up. But the San Diego reported yesterday, we had 4 or 5 yellows. They're like, yeah, the southeast wind all day and sea lions made it pretty tough fishing, which I can totally understand. I know that Bloodydecks is having their yellowtail shootout this weekend, and with the weather on the outside, I'm sure the Coronados get a lot of traffic. So if you're just going to go fun fishing, I might hold off till next week. Alright, so offshore. It's going to be windy out there. I don't know if boats are going to fish or not. I know some are very canceled. that area out behind Clemente, where those fish are, is in the wind line. But, you know, the fish are getting out there, nice ones. My friend Chuck went out, he got a 170 pounder the other day. And Steve Duncan, he went out and got another big fish as well. Seems like Steve catches everything. And big bluefin are part of the deal. There's been some daytime fish caught, not the last few days. The last I heard was the Pegasus got one on a flatline sardine during the day. I know some of the 4-pack boats were getting them early in the week. Weather's going to be a factor for those boats for sure. Yeah, so, you know, I had a comment in my video the other day saying, yeah, everybody knows you hate nighttime bluefin fishing, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, instead of just knocking it all the time, I've been watching some YouTube videos of guys doing it at night. And I got some advice for you if you're fishing on one of those trips. One of the things I noticed in every video I watch is the crew constantly telling people to wind up their jigs and drop them straight down. So the way these knife jigs work, I'm sure I have one here somewhere. Yeah, this is a very small one I happen to have here. I don't really fish these things. This was something we were casting 2 years ago. The way they're designed is that they swim like this on the fall. That's why the tuna eat them. The problem is when you do that, if you just drop, let's say you cast your lure up current or up drift, and so it's drifting back to the boat. If you just have it in free spool, it's going to be doing this darting thing the whole way, and what it's going to end up doing is not falling straight down, it's going to fall outward. And by the time you get to the fish, you know, let's say the fish are down 300 feet, by the time your line says you have 300 feet of line out, you know, if you have it marked every 100 feet or whatever, your lure's going to be like 150 feet. And to drag your line is to be pulling it straight or like this in a very unattractive way. So what you need to do is once you drop that jig, you need to hold your thumb on the spool and give it tension. And you know you have enough tension because what will happen is it'll speed up. So once there's some resistance from here, this lure will fall straight down instead of dancing. So by holding it back, you're making it sink straight, and you'll get it down a lot faster, and it'll be vertical. And you can wind it up and drop it down. The reason the crew's constantly yelling, wind it, drop again, get your lures vertical, is because once it goes out this way, you have no idea where it is in the water column, and you're not going to be where the fish are. The fish are under the boat. They're marking them. We got fish under the boat at 300 feet. They're not 300 feet away from the boat at 150 foot depth, which will happen if your lure goes that way. So it's simple. I know it's a pain in the ass. I know it's, oh, I just got down, I'm in the bite zone. You're not. You think you are, but you're not. And spread out. For God's sake, everything's in the stern or the bow. It doesn't matter where you are along the rail. It's going to be, you know, the fish finder normally, the actual depth sounder is usually about midship or underneath the wheelhouse. So if they're marking fish, they're not marking fish on the stern or the bow, they're marking fish in the middle of the boat. So things to keep in mind. But try it next time. Keep a little tension on your spool, just enough where you feel it start to speed up when you hold your thumb against it. You'll get straight down and you won't get scoped out. You'll definitely catch more fish. Alright, so the last thing I want to say about bluefin here is this year is different than the last few years have been. The fish came in differently this year. Every year for the last few years, they've kind of shut up off the banks in Mexico first and kind of filled it up this way along the beach and outside. This year, these fish showed up outside and already in U.S. waters, for the most part. The thing with these bluefin is they come from the west. They come from Japan. They don't come from Mexico. And they will range as far as Northern California, even Oregon. Probably Washington, for all we know. There's nobody up there looking for them. So, it seems like the fish that were coming into Mexico and California are now coming to California and Central California. There was fish outside of Nick the other day. These things, maybe the next wave will fill in the local banks and stuff, or maybe they'll just keep going north. That's what happened when these fish left in like 1908 or whatever it was. Or 1920. I did some research on it. They just started going north and then they were gone. Back then a bunch of albacore filled in the years after, which I would prefer to these bluefin. But yeah, you know, I don't know. If you want to go catch bluefin, I don't know if I'd wait till they get closer because they might not this year. Alright, so finally, an update on the Tom and Cash troop and their boat that basically sank. A guy who's a friend of theirs happened to be watching my video last week. His name is Danny Craig, and he reached out to Tom and offered him a hull of a boat. It's a 19-foot Mako. Needs a new motor. It's on a trailer. It's from 1972. It's 1 year younger than I am. But what's interesting is that boat was previously owned by my friend Eugene Roberts of Team Rizzo from the SWBA days, and also a fellow MC Swimbait's pro staffer. And I see him fishing that boat plenty of times. He called it Sid Fishes after Sid Vicious. So the boat's going to be a little bit underpowered with their 90 horse motor if they put it on it. But it's a solid fiberglass hull, so that should get them through it. And so what I did was I talked to Tom, and he and I are going to get together, and once he has an idea of what's going to cost to get that motor put over there, and I'm sure he's going to have to get a bunch of new steering stuff and everything else, what it's going to look like to help them get fishing again. And then we're going to do that. We're going to do a fundraiser. We're going to do a couple actually. First off, we'll do an auction. Not an auction, a raffle. Sorry. I'm going to make it so that everybody that donates even $1 is entered into a raffle with at least one ticket. But I think that it's probably going to be if you donate $10 or more, for every $10 you get another ticket. I know some guys even give them $5 as a stretch, and other guys might be able to give 100 or 200 bucks, whatever. I'm going to be donating to it a custom rain shadow topwater tuna rod like I fish. I'm going to build it. I'm going to put a 2-speed Penn Fathom 25 narrow on there that I'm going to donate as well. I talked to Bobby Martinez. He's going to donate a brand new Daiwa rod and reel combo for inshore fishing. I talked to Brian at Stealth Sticks. He's going to donate a rod. And depending on what rod that is, I'm going to donate a Penn Fathom low profile reel to fish on it. I'm going to talk to some other people to see if they have anything they'd like to contribute to that raffle. And hopefully I'll have some more items once it's all official. I'm just giving you guys a heads up about it. So one thing I want to make clear about this is that every penny that is donated to this, or anything I do in the future, is 100% going to go to the cause that we're fundraising for. You know, any raffle items will be donated by me or someone else. I will cover all shipping costs myself to send them out. I'm going to be very upfront about exactly how much money comes in, exactly how much money goes out, and then any remaining money that we raise above and beyond what's needed for the things that we want to do, I'm going to donate to War Heroes on Water, which takes out wounded veterans fishing. So, yeah, I don't know exactly when this is going to happen. Probably the next month or two. I'm also going to be doing the charity tournament. Let everybody have some fun that likes to fish bass or whatever. It's probably going to be $50 a person. And you go fish a tournament for, you know, it's going to be a 6-hour, 8-hour tournament out of Newport Beach, way at the Bellboy Angling Club. My friend Chris Oakes, who's a master barbecuer, has volunteered to barbecue up some tri-tip sandwiches or something like that, that when you come in to weigh your fish, you get a sandwich, a beer, whatever. Matt is donating artwork to make for the trophies for the tournament, first, second, and third place, framed prints, and stuff like that. So it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be good to help people out. And yeah, that's it. I think I completely melted away here, but I'll talk more about that stuff later. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and be safe out there if you go fishing.